Okay, let's jump right into this explainer and break down the absolute sheer chaos that just unfolded at UFC 329. Look, we're talking about a night that was supposed to be this massive, glorious coronation out in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. Instead, it delivered a truly stunning, honestly heart-wrenching shrug of an ending. So we've pulled together all the data, the fighter reactions, and the specific matchmaking fallout from the night to really figure out what went wrong and where the fight game actually goes from here.
69 seconds. Let that sink in for a second. That is the exact amount of time this highly anticipated main event lasted before absolute disaster struck. Conor McGregor steps into the octagon, goes for this explosive jumping roundhouse kick, and just lands totally awkwardly. His right knee simply gave out. Referee Mike Beltran had to rush in and wave off the contest at exactly 1 minute and 9 seconds of the very first round, giving Max Holloway the TKO victory. Just 69 seconds to absolutely shatter years of anticipation.
And the contrast here is just staggering, right? 5 agonizing years of hype and build-up completely dashed in an anticlimactic instant. Fans, pundits, everyone had been waiting half a decade for the Irish superstar to make this walk again. Daniel Cormier was on commentary and honestly hit the nail on the head, saying it felt like somebody who just took his candy from him. John Anik pointed out that the entire arena was just sitting there in stunned disbelief. By the time the official result was being read, that sold-out crowd was just raining down boos out of sheer, overwhelming frustration. To really get the weight of this, we need to trace McGregor's turbulent journey up to this exact moment. Back in 2021, we all remember he suffered that horrific broken leg against Dustin Poirier, sidelining him for a grueling, multi-year recovery. Fast forward to 2024, his status as a headliner faced intensified scrutiny due to legal controversies, including a civil court finding that ordered him to pay $248,000 in damages for sexual assault. All of this heavy history compounded the pressure heading into 2026. This comeback was set up to be a monumental cultural moment, only for his knee to literally give out on his very first offensive move. And to truly wrap your head around this 69-second conclusion, you've got to look at the sheer financial and cultural scale of the night. We are talking about a record-breaking live gate of over $25 million. You had nearly 20,000 screaming fans packed to the rafters. McGregor himself, he took home a base salary of $15 million just for showing up to this main event. The hype was so astronomical that Drake publicized a massive $1 million bet on McGregor to win, a bet that went up in smoke in just over a single minute. All right, Section 1, the MMA world reacts. Let's look at the shockwaves this sent through the sport, because when a spectacle of this magnitude fizzles out, the impact hits every corner of the community instantly. McGregor immediately jumped on social media to firmly deny all those pre-existing injury rumors. People were chatting about him limping or looking a little off walking into the arena, but he called total nonsense on that, saying he was calm, ready, and throwing kicks all throughout camp. This just came out of nowhere. He described his mental state as being beyond dark and literal hell, but even still, he vowed to his fans, "I will return." You contrast that devastation with a very composed, slightly cheeky reaction from Max Holloway, who just joked, "I had him weak in the knees, I guess." But jokes aside, Holloway showed incredible restraint inside the cage. He actually noticed McGregor's kids were sitting right there in the front row and tried to warn the referee to stop the bout sooner to prevent any unnecessary damage. Holloway expressed genuine sympathy for McGregor's struggles, and get this, he even put it out there that he is open to a trilogy fight, suggesting a return date in 2027. Looking across the rest of the pundit and peer landscape, it's fascinating to see the spectrum of takes. Michael Bisping honestly questioned if we will ever see McGregor fight again. Matt Brown was super quick with the "I told you so," claiming he knew McGregor was done. Paul Acosta went for the laughs, joking that the iron shin bone will be back, while Kevin Lee just completely didn't hold back, calling the brief performance the most embarrassing thing in the world. Moving on to Section 2, where the undercard steals the show. Because the main event fizzled out, the rest of these fighters clearly realized they had to carry the weight of this massive audience, and man, did they deliver. Talk about ultimate irony, right? Paddy the Baddy Pimblett managed to end his fight in even less time than the main event, delivering easily the night's most electrifying performance. Just 52 seconds in, Benoit Saint-Denis shoots in early, and Paddy flawlessly wraps up this incredibly slick Darce choke, putting the Frenchman entirely to sleep without absorbing a single bit of damage. Just an absolute statement win for Pimblett to silence his critics. And the rest of the card was just incredibly dense with action. Robert Whittaker successfully made his light heavyweight debut.
He looked a tiny bit shaky early on, but he adjusted beautifully to break down Nikita Krylov for a third-round TKO. Then you have Mario Bautista picking up a really grueling unanimous decision over Corey Sandhagen. He even caught Sandhagen in a super rare Sulo of stretch in the first round. And veteran King Green continued his late career surge, surviving that early crazy pressure from Terrence McKinney to secure a TKO with literally seconds left in the opening round.
Okay, on to Section 3, Matchmaking the Future. Using data from the Phytomic matchmaking model, let's actually project what the future holds for these athletes based on momentum, rankings, and stylistic matchups. So the most crucial point here is this super rare double match for Max Holloway and Paddy Pimblett. The model essentially demands pairing them against each other for this massive star power clash at lightweight. It makes perfect sense. Neither took damage, both need a massive fight. For McGregor, the model says whenever he is medically ready, the Michael Chandler fight is still the ultimate box office attraction. Meanwhile, Whitaker gets a true size test against Dominic Reyes at 205 pounds. And Mario Bautista gets paired up with Sean O'Malley to give him that massive profile boost he totally earned. So, as we wrap up this explainer, you really have to ask yourself a tough question. Can a 37-year-old fighter realistically recover from a second catastrophic leg injury? Or was this 69-second bout the final chapter? I mean, the sheer physical toll of snapping a leg and then blowing out a knee, combined with 5 years mostly away from the sport, that creates a mountain that almost no athlete can climb. Yet his vow to return remains as defiant as ever. So, what do you guys think? Was that awkward step the end of an era or just another dark hurdle before the craziest comeback in MMA history? Keep that in mind as we watch the UFC landscape reshape itself in the aftermath of 329.